See, I always struggle with deciding how I'm going to start these videos. I like the pop-up. Greetings, and welcome back to another rant with your boy, Charles. To start today's Yap Sesh, let's set up a scenario, an illustrative metaphor, if you will, for us to walk through together. That's such a trashy drawing. I love it. I love how trashy that looks. So here we have a vehicle. We can imagine this as a spaceship, a submarine, an airplane, whatever label you'd like to put on it. And we can see that this spaceship has, wings. It's got some fins. There's a little like viewing windshield with some side windows. It's even got like a neat little paint job with a thunderbolt there. That's pretty cool. I like that. And we can look at the outside of the spaceship and we can kind of, make assumptions about it simply based on its physical appearance. Now, inside of this spaceship, as you can imagine, there are a multitude of components. You have electronics, you have maybe some hydraulics, some gears, pulleys, levers, all that good stuff that kind of communicate and help the ship to pull off certain maneuvers. If I want to turn left, you turn that steering wheel, it pulls a rudder or a flap or something, and it helps the whole ship kind of turn that way, the way that you want it to go. Inside of this ship, the one that we're going to be talking about, there is a computer system, a really advanced computer system. And this system helps monitor and kind of keep the spaceship in alignment so that it can continue flying or, whatever else its purpose may be. Maybe it's a delivery spaceship. Maybe it's got some pizza on there, something yummy. Anyway, this particular spaceship happens to have an operating system that is so advanced that you can plug in a destination and the autopilot will get there. So we have a spaceship and we have this wonderful, beautiful operating system, this OS, this computer, whatever you'd like to call it, inside that's kind of helping run that spaceship at the same time. Now let's take a step back now that we know what we're looking at, and let's start connecting the dots together. In the terms of this metaphor, your body, your vessel, is your spaceship. It is the vessel that allows you to manifest your will here in the physical reality. It gets you where you need to go. It helps you do the things that you want to or that you decide to do. If I want to jump, I use my legs and I can jump up. If I want to turn my airplane to the right, the wings or the jets or whatever kind of propulsion system it's using will coordinate together and they will help me facilitate that turn. When I'm taking care of my spaceship, when I'm doing my regular maintenance on my spaceship, it flies fast. It turns on a dime. It can look however I want to. If I want to repaint the outside, if I want to remodel the wings, if I want to build them up bigger and stronger, I can do that. The only thing it takes to make those changes to your spaceship and to accomplish those things is a little bit of effort on your part. So in this way, like we said, your physical body, your vessel, is your spaceship. Now, moving back to that interior, those computer components, that operating system, whatever you want to label it or conceptualize it as, we can then make the connection that the computer that is running your spaceship, your operating system, is actually your mind. Therefore, the voice that you hear in your head, your internal monologue, your thoughts, your feelings, your emotions, these are all contained entirely within your operating system, the operating system of your spaceship. They are the will, the drive, the push behind the actions that your vessel and your spaceship, however you want to talk about it, are partaking. When the spaceship comes up on an asteroid belt, obviously the operating system, the computer, the mind, is going to turn on the alarm system. When you face a scary situation in life, your brain sends you into fight or flight mode. It's to survival. When your operating system notices that you are low on fuel, it gives you an alert that you need to go gas up. When you feel hungry, thirsty, when you're cold, etc., your operating system is turning on those alerts for you. It's bringing it to your attention. So your mind really is the computer of your spaceship, an operating system, if you will, for your vessel. So how is it that how is it that you, how is it that our awareness fits into this? If I am not my spaceship and I am not the computer or the operating system of the spaceship, who am I? If I'm not my body and I'm not my mind, then who am I? Well, this is a truly profound question with an extremely simple answer for you. If you are not your body and you're not the mind, you're not the operating system pushing that spaceship to keep it flying, well, I guess there's only one thing left. You, my friend, are the pilot of this spaceship. I'll give you a little smiley face. Oh, you can hardly see it. Well, pilot's happy. Happiness is a choice. Anyway, the moment that you wake up and you realize that you are not your body and you are not your mind, this gives you ultimate freedom. In other words, you, that little pilot in there, are not getting hit. You're not getting dented by all the little asteroids in the asteroid field. You are not rusting, if there's water and oxidation or anything happening around you. You are not running low on fuel. You are not failing. You're not short-circuiting. There is no issues with your computer or your operating system. Again, in other words, you, the real you, the pilot, is the one sitting inside of the windshield, perfectly safe, enjoying the beautiful show as the asteroids fly by you. And when you make this connection, when you make this realization, when you wake up and you open your eyes and you start looking through that windshield and realizing that you are not your body and you are not your mind, it also helps to remind you that your existence did not begin when you stepped onto the spaceship for the first time, and your existence will surely not end when you get off of this spaceship. Your role on this particular spaceship may in this moment be that of a pilot, but outside of the spaceship, you have held and will hold many other roles. I'm sure you wear many hats, if you will. Now, let's take this a step further. I am not my body. I am not my mind. I am the pilot. I am the awareness, the observer of this experience. When we are born, generally speaking, we enter this place very much behind the wheel. When you first come into your spaceship, you got to figure out all the controls. You got to figure out how to walk and talk and turn this thing to the left and turn this thing to the right and figure it out all on your own. Generally speaking, as children, we are, for the most part, sweet and innocent. I personally have never seen an infant act out of malice. So once you have the controls down, the next thing that people often joke about is, coming to see and experience the computer, finding out about the operating system, meeting the mind, if you will. Many people will often joke about this, how they suddenly became conscious at 7 at a birthday party, or, their very first memory has always stuck with them. Well, in this metaphor, that is the initial boot sequence. This is the startup and the beginning of the continuous operation of your computer. It's the autopilot being turned on for your spaceship. And from there, our computer's code, our operating system's code will begin to run and rerun and be edited by the experiences that you come across. If you are a spaceship flying through asteroids, your operating system is going to get really good at helping you avoid asteroids, etc., etc. So in this way, when your spaceship comes across an obstacle, the computer attempts to guide it through if the pilot is not driving. Interactions, the experiences, the memories, the cherished special moments that we have with our family, our friends, our loved ones, other children at school, teachers, even strangers, over time will begin to rewrite that original code, that original operating system that booted up when you were 7. To further illustrate this, if a dog were to bite me as a young child, my computer's code may be rewritten to have me carry fear of dogs moving forward. There is no malice, there's no, ulterior motives. It's not that I have a seed of hate in my heart for dogs. It's that my computer's operating system is trying to keep my vessel safe. It's trying to keep my spaceship alive so that it can keep flying. It's a self-perpetuating system, if you will. If my parents yell at each other and fight while I'm growing up, well, hey, maybe now I think that that's just what married couples do, right? If I see conflict being resolved with more conflict, well, over time, my computer system, my operating system is going to rewrite itself to think that that's normal. It becomes normalized, right? So in this way, if your spaceship has the autopilot engaged, it's truly the computer that is driving the spaceship. And the pilot themselves is, asleep behind the wheel. And when that pilot is asleep behind the wheel, the computer and spaceship will simply carry that pilot forward through life, bumping into this, bouncing off of that, rewriting code entirely based on what happens to you. A pilot who is asleep behind the wheel is essentially a victim of their own circumstances. These kinds of pilots who are asleep will say things like, you know, I'm just an a-hole, or oh, so and so is just a nice person. That's just how they are, and they'll imagine that they can never change, and that those other people are unable to change. But the truth is, these pilots who are asleep, you have simply forgotten who you are. Again, you are asleep behind the wheel. You are not your spaceship. You have fallen asleep into this dream and come to the conclusion that you are the spaceship, that you are your body, and that you are your mind, which is the computer, when in fact you are neither of these things. Again, you are not your spaceship. You are not your body. Full stop. You are not your mind. You are not the computer system. Full stop. You are the pilot. You are the soul. You are the light behind those beautiful eyes. When you sit forward in that seat and you grab that steering wheel with both of your hands, you can begin to drive that thing wherever you like, however you like, whenever you like. And in this way, you can be whoever you want to be. You can change anything about your spaceship and about your computer. And you can do anything you want to do. You are not just this body. You are not just those thoughts. When you wake up and you have this realization, when you open your eyes for the first time and you look through that windshield and remember that you have free will, you can begin to look around and say, damn, this thing needs some maintenance. Maybe I should eat better. Maybe I should start working out. Maybe I should stretch and take care of my body or do something better, right? Well, the same is true for your mind. Dang, this computer code is whack. I want to start speaking to myself and my loved ones more kindly. I don't want to react. I want to respond. I want to think about the consequences of my actions before I just react and take those actions, right? Once you start performing maintenance on your spaceship, your body, you realize that life gets better. You no longer have those aches and pains, or those little pulls or stiff joints or that extra weight to carry around. And that change makes everything else that it touches a little bit easier for you. And then, even more profound, is maintaining your computer, maintaining your mind. You, as the pilot, can look around and say, I want to be happy. I want to feel fulfilled. I want to be kind and show love to my friends and family, to my coworkers, to my spouse, to my neighbor, to the strangers that I ride the bus with. You can look around and you can be the change that you wish to see in the world. You're working on your mind. Well, maybe you want to accomplish this goal, or maybe I want to change that. By rewriting that operating system, by rewriting the character that you're playing, the ego that you have, you can make those changes. And once you are the pilot and you open your eyes and realize that you are not the mind and you are not the body, you can begin rewriting that code at will. And by observing and just noticing a problem in the first place, you can head to the lab and start rewriting that code. Consider it like this, if you will. Most folks nowadays are drifting through space. They are running on autopilot. They are asleep behind the wheel. Their vessel is taking them to work. It's paying bills. It's reacting to things that happen in front of them. And these people have forgotten who they are, believing that they are only the spaceship. These folks think that their life began the moment the ship was put together, and they believe that their lives and their existences will end the moment that ship deteriorates. Because of these belief systems, their computer code will make them react when asteroids get close or alter the course of the ship, right? But that's really the end of it. It acts almost entirely out of survival. Like I said, a self-perpetuating system running essentially on base instincts and the accumulation of prior experiences. If you're coming through asteroid belts all the time, well, your operating system's going to be very heavily written to avoid asteroids in whatever way, shape, or form you're able to. Maybe you change the course and you loop back around, or maybe you take evasive maneuvers and you snake through those asteroids. Well, again, it's really just a survival instinct. And the truth about this survival instinct is that until you open your eyes, until you wake up and remember that you are the pilot, this code simply does not change itself. Now, on the flip side, when the pilot awakens, when they open their eyes and they use their real eyes to realize that they have authority and they have influence over this code, and that life is not just happening around them, or life is not just happening to them, well, then they can edit that code in real time. Instead of simply autopilot turning to avoid that asteroid, well, you know what? Maybe I want to do a sick 360 barrel roll and tip it over or something, or maybe I want to do a cool backflip or something like that. When my pet is doing something I don't like, maybe I don't scream and yell at them. I know that they are a simple little baby, and I've rewritten that code, and I understand that the only thing I need to do in that moment is to redirect them to a toy or play with them myself. And suddenly now my pet wants to snuggle more, they want more of my attention, they want more of my love, and they're acting out for that attention and that love far less. When you change your inner world, when you rewrite your code, when you work on your computer, it has a direct effect on your outer world as well. It is essentially a mirror. Your inner world is going to reflect your outer world, and your outer world is going to reflect your inner world. So finally, to kind of summarize this cute little concept and this cool little spaceship here, you are not your spaceship. You are not your body. You are not your computer's operating system. You are not your mind. You are not your feelings. You are not your emotions. You are the pilot of all of these things. You are the awareness behind this experience. You are the light in your eyes. You are the soul that is contained in this body. Some esoteric people will use pictures like this. You have a body, a rigid structure, right? Your spaceship. And inside of that spaceship, you have your mind. You have your operating system, the thing that is entirely contained in this vessel. Well, on top of that, you have to remember there's also an animating force, a soul, a spirit, a greater existence, however you choose to label it. And when you wake up, when the pilot opens their eyes, they begin to realize the power and the authority that having this awareness of who you really are gives you over your experience here. While some pilots kind of drift in and out of sleep, they kind of go to sleep and they come back too when something happens, and then they fall into routines, and then something happens that shakes them, that wakes them up. Or, oh, the sensor didn't pick up an asteroid, and boom, my car gets a flat tire. Whoa, I'm back awake, right? Some folks are able to actually maintain this sleepless state with total control over their experience. They have rewritten their computer code, they have changed their character, they have changed their physical experience, they have changed any number of things about their lives. And for a little more information, I go a little more in depth in some of my other videos, so feel free to check those out for that. But anyway, to the beloved souls who have taken a moment of their day to hang out with me, I say thank you. And I leave you with one simple question. Right now, yesterday, tomorrow, 5 minutes after this video is over, my friend, my dear beloved soul, who is driving your ship? Who's driving your ship?